Do you know that feeling? When you open your medicine cabinet, look at those neatly stacked painkiller packets. Ibuprofen, Acetaminophen, Aspirin. And you realize how many times in your life you've swallowed them. Headache? 1 pill. Back pain? 2 pills. Joint pain? 3 pills. And you never even think about it. Because that's just how the world works. Because TV commercials tell you that's the solution. Because your doctor prescribes them. Because it's just obvious. But what if I told you that this obvious thing is one of the most sophisticated and longest-running deceptions in the history of modern medicine? In the 19th century, before the synthetic pharmaceutical industry was born, humans were not helpless against pain. They didn't suffer in silence. They had a vast system of plant-based medicine, accumulated over thousands of years, tested on billions of human bodies across countless generations. The village healers, the indigenous medicine men, the grandmothers in their kitchens, they all knew exactly which plant soothed a headache, which leaf broke a fever, which root calmed joint pain. Then modern pharma arrived. And instead of building on that foundation of knowledge, they did something very clever. They didn't ban you from using medicinal plants, they simply isolated the active compound, synthesized it, packaged it, gave it a scientific name, sold it back to you at 1,000 times the price. And in the process, they made you forget that you could just grow it in your garden. According to the World Health Organization, 80% of the world's population still depends on traditional medicine, mostly plant-based, for their primary healthcare needs. Not because they don't have hospitals, but because that system was working long before the first hospital was ever built. Today, Garden Center Point is taking you on an excavation. We're going to dig through the dust of history, follow the clinical evidence that's been buried, and uncover 15 herbs that Big Pharma truly hopes you never plant. Because every plant you grow is a pill they can't sell. And stay until number 2. There, you'll meet a strange root from the Kalahari Desert, used by African healers for thousands of years. Modern science has just discovered it can replace arthritis painkillers so effectively that clinical trials show it performs as well as Vioxx, a prescription drug that was pulled from the market for causing heart attacks. But this root doesn't kill you, it just heals. And at number 1, the throne, is the plant that Hippocrates himself prescribed in 400 BC. The one whose formula the pharmaceutical industry copied, packaged, and sold back to you under a name you read every day on drug labels. But the original tree, they hope you never learn which riverbank it grows along. Number 15. Chamomile. Matricaria chamomilla. Nature's ibuprofen. If you only know chamomile as a relaxing bedtime tea, you've missed about 90% of its power. This is one of the most underrated medicinal plants on this list, and that's exactly what Big Pharma wants. A systematic review and meta-analysis published in the journal Phytotherapy Research pooled multiple randomized clinical trials on chamomile's anti-inflammatory effects. The conclusion? Chamomile demonstrated statistically significant pain reduction and anti-inflammatory activity. Researchers confirmed that chamomile can function as an effective natural anti-inflammatory. The mechanism isn't vague. The compounds camozuline and alpha-bisabolol in the flowers inhibit the cyclooxygenase pathway, the exact same pathway targeted by ibuprofen and other NSAIDs. But unlike ibuprofen, chamomile doesn't eat away at your stomach lining. No ulcers, no gastrointestinal bleeding. And here's something to think about. While long-term use of NSAIDs can increase cardiovascular risk, chamomile has no serious side effects on record. Chamomile tea has long been used to reduce fever. The mechanism is peripheral vasodilation. Your body is cooled from the inside, exactly the way paracetamol works. You can buy a box of chamomile tea for a few dollars, or you can grow it in your garden and have an endless supply, free forever. And now I want you to pause for a second. Think. A tiny white flower that grows like a weed, capable of easing pain and reducing fever just as well as the pills you buy at the pharmacy. But have you ever seen a TV commercial for chamomile? No. And you know why now. Number 14. Rosemary. Salvia rosmarinus. the guardian of memory and pain. Rosemary. You know it as a spice. You sprinkle it on your roast. But here's the question. Did you know that ancient Greek scholars wrapped rosemary wreaths around their heads when they studied for exams? They believed it boosted memory. They were right. And as it turns out, they were only scratching the surface. Rosmarinic acid, the main compound in rosemary leaves, is such a powerful anti-inflammatory that it has become the subject of serious clinical trials. A clinical trial registered with the Iranian Registry of Clinical Trials compared the effects of rosemary and ginger ointments on patients with knee osteoarthritis. The result? Both significantly reduced pain scores after 14 days of treatment. But what's truly remarkable about rosemary is that it doesn't just reduce mechanical pain. Rosmarinic acid also protects nerve cells from oxidative damage, a finding published in the journal Nature by scientists at the Burnham Institute in California. In other words, while NSAIDs can harm your nerves with long-term use, rosemary protects them. This is something Big Pharma can't compete with. They can synthesize a pain-relieving molecule, but they can't synthesize a plant that relieves pain, protects your brain, and makes your roast chicken smell incredible. Number 13. Lemon balm. Melissa officinalis. The virus suppressor and nerve pain reliever. Lemon balm is one of the most clinically convincing medicinal plants that almost nobody talks about. The first clinical trial on lemon balm for herpes simplex was published back in 1984. In a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, those who applied 1% lemon balm extract cream 5 times a day saw their lesions heal significantly faster than the placebo group. But the story doesn't stop there. The rosmarinic acid in lemon balm also inhibits the growth of gram-positive bacteria, including Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes, 2 of the primary culprits in wound infections. And here's the critical part. Lemon balm has demonstrated antiviral activity against both HSV and even HIV-1 in vitro studies. You can buy a tube of herpes cream for $30, or you can grow lemon balm in a small pot on your windowsill and have free medicine for life. It grows like a weed, it smells like lemon, and it's one of the best-kept secrets of the pharmaceutical industry. Number 12. Eucalyptus. Eucalyptus globulus. The breath of the ancient forest. Indigenous Australians have known the power of eucalyptus for tens of thousands of years. They crushed fresh leaves into a paste for wounds and burns. They inhaled steam from boiled leaves to clear airways and reduce muscle pain. Pharmacological studies have shown that eucalyptus essential oil relieves pain and inflammation through multiple pathways. It appears to activate mu-opioid receptors, the same receptors targeted by morphine, and inhibits the production of inflammatory cytokines. A recent review published in the International Journal of Pain has also documented these mechanisms, further reinforcing what traditional medicine knew all along. Clinical trials have demonstrated that inhaling eucalyptus oil reduces pain after knee replacement surgery. Topical application relieves muscle and joint pain. And the best part? A mature eucalyptus tree can live over 100 years, continuously producing medicinal leaves without fertilizer, without irrigation. Big Pharma can't compete with a tree that lives a century. Number 11. Garlic. Allium sativum. Nature's silver bullet. Sounds too familiar, right? Garlic sits in your kitchen every day. But did you know that during World War I, when antibiotics didn't yet exist, the British Army used diluted garlic juice to wash battlefield wounds and prevent gangrene? They had no penicillin, but they had garlic, and it saved countless soldiers' lives. But garlic is not just an antibiotic, it's also a powerful pain reliever. A clinical trial on women suffering from menstrual pain showed that those taking garlic extract daily experienced a significant reduction in pain scores compared to placebo. The mechanism? Allicin, the compound responsible for garlic's pungent smell, inhibits inflammatory cytokines like resistin and TNF-alpha, 2 key mediators of the inflammatory and pain response. In other words, garlic doesn't just mask pain, it puts out the inflammatory fire that causes the pain in the first place. Beyond fighting infection and relieving pain, garlic also stimulates the immune system. A double-blind clinical trial on 146 volunteers published in Advances in Therapy showed that those taking garlic extract daily had 63% fewer colds than the placebo group, and when they did get sick, their recovery time was significantly shorter. And here's the irony. You can buy a painkiller for 50 cents, or you can grow garlic in your garden, nearly free, and have an entire pharmacy of antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, and pain relievers. But Big Pharma doesn't want you thinking about that every time you hold a clove of garlic in your kitchen. Number 10. Clove. Syzygium aromaticum. Nature's dental anesthetic. If you've ever had a toothache, you know it's the most unbearable kind of pain. It throbs, it persists, and nothing seems to reach it. But before benzocaine, before lidocaine, 19th century dentists used one thing: clove oil. Eugenol, the main component in clove oil, is a powerful natural anesthetic and antibacterial. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Dentistry showed that clove oil provided pain relief equivalent to benzocaine, a standard topical anesthetic. In addition, eugenol inhibits the growth of Streptococcus mutans, the primary bacteria responsible for tooth decay, and other periodontal pathogens. The World Health Organization officially recognizes the traditional use of clove for treating toothache. But here's the interesting part. You can buy a bottle of clove oil for $5, and it'll last you for years. Or you can grow a clove tree if you live in the tropics. Either way, this is a solution the pharmaceutical industry can't monopolize. Number 9. Capsaicin. Capsicum. Nature's fire-based painkiller. It sounds contradictory, using chili peppers to relieve pain. But this is one of the most intelligent pain relief mechanisms in nature. A systematic review and meta-analysis published in Phytotherapy Research analyzed multiple double-blind clinical trials on arthritis patients. The result? Topical capsaicin significantly reduced pain levels compared to placebo. The mechanism? Capsaicin depletes substance P, the neurotransmitter responsible for sending pain signals from the periphery to the brain. When you apply capsaicin to a painful area, there may be a mild burning sensation at first, but then the nerve fibers become desensitized and the pain disappears. This isn't masking pain. This is reprogramming pain signals at the cellular level. You can buy capsaicin patches at the pharmacy for $15 to $20, or you can grow hot peppers in your garden, make your own infused oil, and have an endless supply of pain reliever. Once again, Big Pharma can't compete with a pepper plant. Number 8. Turmeric. Curcuma longa. The anti-inflammatory king. They tried to patent. This is the most infuriating story on this list. Turmeric has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 4,000 years. Billions of people have used it to treat arthritis, muscle pain, and inflammatory diseases. This is knowledge that belongs to humanity. Yet in the 1990s, scientists at the University of Mississippi attempted to file a patent on the use of turmeric for wound healing. They wanted to monopolize something that Indian ancestors had known since the Bronze Age. The patent was eventually overturned after a legal battle, but it reveals the true nature of the pharmaceutical industry. They want to own nature. A systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Journal of Medicinal Food analyzed multiple randomized clinical trials on turmeric and curcumin for arthritis. The conclusion? Turmeric reduced pain scores with statistical significance and improved overall joint function. Notably, there was no significant difference between turmeric and conventional painkillers in terms of pain relief effectiveness. In other words, turmeric works just as well as NSAIDs. But here's the key point. Turmeric doesn't cause stomach ulcers, no gastrointestinal bleeding, no kidney damage. You can grow turmeric in a pot. It just needs a piece of rhizome and some moist soil, and it will keep multiplying, free, forever. Big Pharma spent millions trying to own turmeric. They failed, but make no mistake, they're still trying. And the best way to fight back is to grow turmeric in your garden. Number 7. Ginger, Zingiber officinale, the destroyer of menstrual pain. If there's one plant with clinical evidence so strong that even Big Pharma can't ignore it, it's ginger. A meta-analysis published in the Natural Products Journal pooled 24 studies on ginger for primary dysmenorrhea. The result? Ginger reduced pain intensity impressively. But here's the truly shocking part. There was no statistically significant difference between ginger and NSAIDs. Ginger works just as well as ibuprofen for menstrual pain relief. Ginger doesn't just relieve menstrual pain. Clinical studies have also shown it reduces post-surgical pain, joint pain, and even migraines. The mechanism: gingerols and shogaols inhibit the COX-2 and LOX pathways, both inflammatory pathways, but without inhibiting the COX-1 enzyme that protects your stomach lining the way aspirin and ibuprofen do. And here's the part that keeps Big Pharma executives up at night. You can grow ginger from a piece of root you buy at the supermarket. Place it in moist soil, and within months, you'll have an endless supply of pain reliever. Free. No side effects, no prescription needed. Number 6. Aloe vera, the silent doctor of the skin. The ancient Egyptians called aloe vera the plant of immortality. They painted it on the tomb walls of pharaohs. They believed it held the secret to eternal life. They weren't entirely wrong. A systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Journal of Burn Care and Research analyzed multiple randomized clinical trials on aloe vera for burn wounds. The conclusion? Aloe vera significantly reduced wound healing time compared to other topical treatments, including silver sulfadiazine, the gold standard in burn care. Moreover, aloe vera did not increase infection risk. But here's what's truly shocking. A meta-analysis published in the Amrita Journal of Medicine demonstrated that aloe vera gel significantly outperformed 1% silver sulfadiazine cream in healing first and second-degree burns, with clear pain-relieving effects and blister protection. Aloe vera is one of the easiest plants on earth to grow. It needs very little water. It thrives in a pot. It reproduces by sending out pups. And every leaf is a tube of burn-healing, pain-relieving, antibacterial gel. You can buy a tube of aloe gel for $12, or you can break a leaf off your own plant. Big Pharma hates the second option. Number 5. White willow, Salix alba, the tree that gave birth to aspirin. In 400 BC, Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, prescribed a bitter powder made from willow bark to patients with fever and pain. Over 2,000 years later, in 1828, chemists isolated the active compound, salicin. And from salicin, the pharmaceutical industry synthesized acetyl salicylic acid, the substance you know as aspirin. But here's the truth that Bayer never advertises. The original willow bark has one advantage that aspirin doesn't. Salicin is a prodrug. It's only converted into salicylic acid after passing through your liver. This means it doesn't directly attack your stomach lining. No ulcers, no bleeding. A double-blind clinical trial on 210 patients with back pain, published in the American Journal of Medicine, showed that after 4 weeks of treatment with willow bark extract, 240 milligrams salicin per day, 39% of patients were completely pain-free, compared to only 6% in the placebo group. The effect was clear after just 1 week of use. You can buy a pack of aspirin for a few dollars, but a white willow tree can live for 50 years, free. Every piece of bark is a pill. And that's exactly why Big Pharma hopes you never learn which riverbank the willow grows along. Number 4. Boswellia, Boswellia serrata, the ancient arthritis hunter. At number 4, we meet a tree resin that has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years. But don't let its age fool you. Boswellia has clinical evidence so strong that it's making pharmaceutical researchers sit up and pay attention. A systematic review and meta-analysis of 7 randomized clinical trials, including 545 arthritis patients, showed that Boswellia reduced pain scores and improved joint function with high statistical significance. It also significantly improved joint stiffness and physical function. But here's what's truly fascinating. Boswellic acids don't work like NSAIDs. They inhibit 5-lipoxygenase, an enzyme that NSAIDs don't even touch, while also preventing the migration of white blood cells into joint tissue. This is a completely different mechanism, targeting the root of inflammation rather than just masking symptoms. Boswellia grows in the arid regions of India and North Africa. It doesn't need good soil, it doesn't need much water, and its resin, once offered to the gods, is now quietly healing inflamed joints without a single TV commercial. Number 3. Yarrow, Achillea millefolium, the battlefield medic. Its scientific name, Achillea, is named after Achilles, the greatest warrior in Greek mythology. Legend says Achilles carried yarrow into the Battle of Troy to stop bleeding and heal the wounds of his soldiers. But this isn't myth. Roman warriors actually carried yarrow in their medical kits. They called it Herba militaris, the soldier's herb. Modern clinical trials have confirmed these traditional uses. A clinical study on postpartum women showed that yarrow ointment significantly accelerated wound healing. Another double-blind trial published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology demonstrated that yarrow oil extract had clear anti-inflammatory effects on human skin. The mechanism. Achilleine in yarrow is a natural hemostatic alkaloid. The sesquiterpene lactones are broad-spectrum antibacterial. The flavonoids are anti-inflammatory. And here's what amazes me. The same plant growing wild on roadsides can simultaneously stop bleeding, fight bacteria, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain. It's an entire battlefield medical kit wrapped up in one plant. Yarrow grows along most country roads across North America and Europe. You've stepped on it hundreds of times without knowing. Now you know. Number 2. Devil's Claw, Harpagophytum procumbens, the desert painkiller stronger than Vioxx. Here we are, number 2. And this is the story Big Pharma really doesn't want you to hear. Devil's Claw grows in the Kalahari Desert, where the Sand People have used it for thousands of years to treat joint pain, back pain, and fever. They dig its tubers from the dry desert soil, dry them, and grind them into powder. This is the survival knowledge of one of the oldest cultures on Earth. Then modern science got involved, and what they found left them stunned. A Cochrane review, the gold standard of evidence-based medicine, analyzed clinical trials on Devil's Claw. The conclusion? There is moderate quality evidence showing that Devil's Claw is more effective than placebo for pain relief. Some trials suggest it may be comparable to certain NSAIDs at low doses. Safety assessments across 28 clinical trials show that side effects occur at a rate of approximately 3%, no higher than placebo. Long-term use appears safe and non-toxic. But here's the part that makes me angry. You can find Devil's Claw in health food stores for $20 to $30 a bottle. But do you know who taught the world about this plant? The Sand People. The people who were driven off their ancestral lands. The people who never received a single cent in royalties from the billion-dollar industry built on their knowledge. This isn't just a story about a medicinal plant. This is a story about exploitation. And now, you have the right to reclaim that knowledge. Grow Devil's Claw if your climate allows. Or at the very least, know that it exists. Know that there's an alternative to the painkillers that could kill you. Number 1. Medical cannabis. Cannabis sativa. The plant banned for political reasons, not scientific ones. And finally, the throne. Number 1. I know what you're thinking. Cannabis. Marijuana. But set aside every prejudice and listen to the science. Because the story of cannabis and pain is one of the biggest scientific scandals of the 20th century. The endocannabinoid system in your body was discovered in the 1990s. It's a vast regulatory system, with CB1 and CB2 receptors distributed throughout your brain, spinal cord, and immune system. Its primary functions? Regulating pain, inflammation, mood, sleep. In other words, your body is designed to receive cannabinoids. You have receptors specifically for them. A 2017 report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine reviewed over 10,000 studies and concluded there is conclusive evidence that cannabis is effective in treating chronic pain. Conclusive evidence. This is not an opinion. This is scientific consensus. But here's the question. Why was cannabis banned globally throughout the 20th century? Was it because it's dangerous? No. The answer lies in 1937, when the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in the United States. The man behind this campaign was Harry Anslinger, a man with openly racist views who used fear and propaganda to criminalize cannabis. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, aspirin and synthetic NSAIDs were being patented and commercialized. Coincidence? I don't think so. Today, medical cannabis is legal in over 40 countries. Clinical trials show it relieves neuropathic pain, cancer pain, arthritis pain, and chronic pain with a safety profile vastly superior to opioids. No one has ever died from a cannabis overdose. Meanwhile, opioids kill over 80,000 people every year in the United States alone. You don't need to grow cannabis if it's not legal where you live. But you need to know this truth. The pharmaceutical industry lobbied to keep cannabis illegal for decades, not because it's dangerous, but because you can't patent a plant. And while they made billions from opioids, a crisis they created, a naturally growing plant could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. That's not medicine. That's a crime. Now you've seen it. From the white willow growing on riverbanks that Hippocrates once prescribed, to the devil's claw of the San people in the Kalahari Desert, they're all telling you the same thing. There are other options for managing pain. Options that don't come in foil packs, don't require a prescription, and don't have a $25 price tag for a small tube. Here's what I want you to remember. Every time you plant a medicinal herb in your garden, you're not just planting a plant. You're carrying out a quiet act of rebellion. You're telling Big Pharma, I have another choice. You're reclaiming control over your own health, something they've spent decades convincing you that you can't have without them. They want you to believe that healing is a privilege, that you need insurance, a prescription, pills sealed in shiny foil packets. But the truth they've spent billions to hide, is that the most powerful pharmacy in the world isn't inside a drugstore. It's in the soil, it's in the seeds, and it's in your hands. So, the final question I want to leave you with today isn't, what will you do if the pharmacy closes? It's, what will you do right now, while the pharmacy is still open, to free yourself from dependence on them? Which plant will you start with? The yarrow growing wild on the roadside? The ginger from a piece of root in your kitchen? Or the humble chamomile that rivals ibuprofen? Let me know in the comments. This is Garden Center Point, where we dig up the truth, return knowledge to the gardeners, and never apologize for it. See you in the next video.